Imagine you are 2 million years old, standing completely alone in the tall grass of the Great Rift Valley. Not you personally, but your species, right at the dawn of the human journey. You stand barely 4'6", looking tiny against an enormous, untamed world. You have no sharp claws to defend yourself when danger strikes. You have no lethal fangs to bite back against the wild. And your top running speed is, frankly, embarrassing. Just 15 feet away in the shadows, an apex predator is locking its eyes on you. There are no fences or rescue teams, just you and a sharpened stick if you are lucky. Every major carnivore on the savannah considers you a light snack. And for most of human history, we were violently losing the battle for survival. Let's confront the uncomfortable truth about our ancient ancestors. For millions of years, humans were nowhere near the top of the food chain. We were prey, plain, simple, and hunted. We were actively chased down, caught, and dragged away into the bushes. It sounds wild to modern ears, but ancient bones tell the real story. The fossil record holds unmistakable proof etched directly into bone. Paleontologists keep finding evidence of how defenseless we truly were. Survival meant constantly hiding from beasts that saw us as easy calories. The journey from hunted target to ruler of the planet was an incredible long shot. And one historic skull revealed just how extreme that danger really was. In 1924 South Africa, a landmark fossil discovery changed evolutionary history forever. Miners unearthed the delicate fossil skull of an early hominin child. This famous ancient specimen became known worldwide as the Taung child. It belonged to an Australopithecus that walked nearly 2.8 million years ago. The fossil represented an ancestor barely out of toddlerhood. Odd puncture marks on the skull puzzled researchers for decades. Many scientists assumed the child simply suffered a fatal accident or rockfall. The assumption was that trauma caused the damage after death. Then, in the 1990s, scientists decided to inspect the bone damage much more closely. What they discovered was far more chilling than any simple cave accident. Microscopic analysis revealed puncture holes with an eerie, precise alignment. The spacing perfectly matched the lethal talons of a massive bird of prey. The killer was a gigantic prehistoric eagle dominating the skies. An aerial hunter capable of targeting small land primates with terrifying ease. The ancient child wasn't cornered on the ground. It was plucked straight from the earth, carried into the air like a piece of food by a predator from above. Our ancestors were so small that the sky itself was an active threat. Imagine being tiny enough to serve as an eagle's casual meal. Yet somehow, that same hunted species eventually built rockets to reach the stars. How we survived that brutal evolutionary gauntlet is nothing short of miraculous. The ancient savannah was packed with an unprecedented density of lethal carnivores. Gigantic prehistoric lions roamed the grasslands with immense hunting power. Stealthy leopards waded in branches, ready to strike from above. Massive cave hyenas grew to the size of modern grizzly bears. A lone human standing between them was completely outmatched. Danger lurked in every shadow, behind every single bush. Every step our ancestors took across the plain required extreme caution. Bone-crushing jaws meant that any encounter was almost certainly fatal. It was an environment designed to wipe out a weak species. Early humans were navigating the most dangerous ecosystem on Earth. And then there was Dinofelis, a nightmare cat built for primate prey. Its thick forelimbs and saber fangs were specifically adapted for hunting us. It didn't just hunt humans by chance, it specialized in catching primates. We were such a consistent food source that a predator evolved around our bodies. An entire predator lineage adapted its anatomy just to hunt our ancestors better. Let that sink in. Nature shaped a creature specifically to eat us. This is a serious, published hypothesis supported by fossil evidence. It is a humbling reminder of our fragile biological beginnings. We were constantly under the watchful gaze of specialized killers. Against such tailored killing machines, the odds seemed completely hopeless. So how on earth are you and I sitting here today? We were slower, weaker, and completely unequipped for physical combat. We lacked natural armor, venom, or brute physical strength. Yet we ended up sitting at the peak of the global food chain. Winning by fighting harder was biologically impossible. The solution was never going to come from brute force. Instead, humans developed a series of astonishingly clever workarounds. Brilliant strategies that completely rewrote the rules. Small behavioral tweaks turned the entire savannah on its head. Here is how our terrified ancestors turned the tables. The very first and most powerful survival strategy was cooperation. A single hominin alone in the grass was guaranteed dinner before sundown. Solitary survival was practically a death sentence on the ancient plain. But 30 hominins watching in every direction changed the entire equation. A roaring, gesturing group created terrifying chaos for any stalker. Coordinated defense turned vulnerable targets into a wall of resistance. Even a hungry lion hesitated when faced with an organized mob. The risk-to-reward ratio completely collapsed for the predator. Big cats chose to back off rather than face a united front. By sticking together, the safest prey became the loudest group. Predators had a massive biological weakness that humans exploited. In the wild, a broken bone or severe injury is a delayed death sentence. An injured predator cannot run fast enough to catch game. A damaged leg quickly leads to unavoidable, slow starvation. Carnivores are hardwired to avoid high-risk confrontations. A thrown, jagged rock could easily blind an eye or crack a rib. Attacking a screaming group of primates simply wasn't worth the danger. Predators instinctively retreated to hunt easier, quiet game. The fear of sustaining damage kept the fiercest hunters away. Human unity transformed our weakness into a formidable defense. Group coordination required a whole new level of communication. Spotting movement in the grass demanded an instant alert system. A simple grunt wasn't enough when seconds meant life or death. Specific alarm calls told the group exactly what was coming and where. Precise vocal warnings allowed the entire tribe to react as one unit. Language evolved primarily as a high-stakes predator warning network, an alarm system that we eventually repurposed into poetry and storytelling. And, of course, complaining about daily morning traffic. Information sharing became our species' ultimate collective superpower. The survival of the group depended on the precision of their voices. The second major breakthrough was mastering fire. Fire gave warmth and cooked meals, but its primary job was defense. Open flame gave early humans an active weapon against the night. Big cats and hyenas possess an ancient biological dread of fire. Fire is one of the only things in nature that kills without being alive. A burning perimeter created an invisible shield around ancient camps. For the first time, primates had an untouchable safety zone. Humans could gather and eat in total peace after sunset. Carnivores could only watch helplessly from beyond the glowing light. Fire permanently conquered the terror of the prehistoric night. Sleep had always been the most perilous part of every single day. With eyes closed and senses dulled, an animal is totally defenseless. Fire solved the single most vulnerable 8 hours of daily existence. Other primates must keep half their brain alert during the night. Protected by firelight, humans could finally experience true, deep rest. This triggered the evolution of longer, deeper cycles of REM sleep. Unbroken, restorative sleep fueled unprecedented cognitive development. Better rest meant sharper minds ready to solve complex survival problems. A safe campsite transformed the nighttime from a hazard into a sanctuary. Safe sleep literally helped build the modern human mind. Then came a biological superpower totally unique to humans: throwing. Our shoulders, elbows, and wrists evolved into precision kinetic catapults. Chimpanzees can throw objects, but lack real power and accuracy. Humans, however, can wind up like professional baseball pitchers. A trained human arm can launch a projectile at over 90 miles per hour, delivering pinpoint kinetic strikes with devastating force. Our upper body anatomy evolved specifically around projectile mechanics. No other creature on Earth can throw with our deadly precision. A single thrown rock completely bridged the physical power gap. Evolution had turned us into the most accurate pitchers in nature. Throwing introduced a revolutionary concept: standoff distance. A predator's fangs and claws are only dangerous at close range. If you strike from 30 feet away, their physical advantages vanish. You don't need to be stronger than a leopard to stop one in its tracks. A flying stone inflicts damage long before claws can ever reach you. Stunned predators were forced to break off their charges and retreat. Ranged attacks completely neutralized teeth and claws. A volley of thrown projectiles created an impassable perimeter. Distance became the ultimate biological equalizer. And our weapon engineering quickly reached an astonishing level of sophistication. In 1994 Germany, archaeologists unearthed something that stunned the scientific world. They uncovered a cache of remarkably preserved wooden throwing spears. These weapons dated back an astonishing 300,000 years. They weren't rough, pointed sticks. They were aerodynamically tuned javelins. Their center of gravity matched the design of modern Olympic javelins. Ancient humans understood projectile physics purely through touch and experience. Modern ballistic engineers were stunned by their flawless balance. Generations of hunters perfected these designs through relentless trial and error. With weapons like these, humans were becoming lethal from a distance. The Savannah's former prey was beginning to command the open field. Early humans also adopted a brazen survival strategy, Kleptoparasitism. Why risk your life hunting when big cats can do the work for you? A coordinated human mob would rush in, shouting, throwing rocks, and waving fire. Terrified predators had no choice but to abandon their fresh kill. Humans simply carried the high-calorie meat straight back to camp. Stealing meals was far safer and more efficient than chasing game. It may not look heroic in movies, but it kept our ancestors alive. We openly bullied animals far more dangerous than us. We won meals using the one tool they lacked: organized teamwork. Stolen meat powered the growth of larger, smarter human brains. This intense survival struggle left a permanent mark on our minds. Ever felt an uneasy chill walking through an empty, dark parking garage? That sudden spike in your heart rate is not an irrational modern panic. Jumping at a rustle in the bushes is an ancient alarm system triggering. Your nervous system is running ancient, life-saving software. It is the unbroken instinct of ancestors who survived mortal danger. You aren't glitching. You are successfully operating an ancient defense. Your paranoia kept thousands of generations alive in the grass. Fear was the single greatest survival tool our species ever possessed. A cautious brain always lived to see another sunrise. Our modern bedtime routines are direct relics of that ancient fear. That urge to double-check that the front door is locked at night? Sleeping exposed in the open was essentially guaranteed suicide. Humans evolved a deep preference for sleeping enclosed, together, in groups, with a trusted sentry always awake to guard the entrance. We still find comfort in four walls and a nightlight in the hall. That's your ancient ancestor making sure you survive the night. Shelter and community remain our deepest evolutionary shields. Every home is a modern fortress built on prehistoric instincts. Millions of years later, our survival habits are still keeping us safe. Predator pressure may have even forced us to walk on two legs. Moving on all fours left primates blind in the tall savanna grass. Standing upright instantly raised our eyes above the grass line. Early warning sightlines gave us critical extra seconds to react. A few seconds of notice made the difference between escape and being caught. Standing also freed our hands to carry rocks, clubs, and spears. Millions of close calls permanently redesigned our entire skeleton. Staying low to the ground was how you became someone's lunch. Bipedalism proved to be a revolutionary survival upgrade. We stood up tall so we wouldn't end up on the menu. By 300,000 years ago, modern Homo sapiens emerged. We arrived equipped with an extraordinary toolkit honed over eons. Language, fire, throwing, and teamwork fused into a single defense. Knowledge was passed down seamlessly from generation to generation. Thrown stones evolved into spears, bows, and eventually modern rockets. Every tool we created was born under intense predator pressure. Our communities were built as organized, impenetrable fortresses. Danger didn't destroy us. It forced our species to innovate. The pressure forged humanity into ultimate problem solvers. We were finally ready to step out of the shadows. Natural selection had no room for careless mistakes. The curious ancestor who wandered off alone to investigate a night noise simply didn't live long enough to pass on their genes. The cautious, cooperative, fire-tending humans survived. Every lineage of reckless loners was systematically pruned away. We are descended entirely from the cautious half of history. Survival knowledge was ingrained into every newborn generation. You carry the DNA of the survivors who played it safe. Prudence and caution are hardwired into our very genetic code. A legacy shaped by millions of close evolutionary calls. We never conquered predators by becoming individually stronger beasts. One-on-one and unarmed against a lion, a human loses every single time. Physically, we are still weak and fragile compared to true hunters. We never evolved thick hides, venom, or crushing bite force. Our physical bodies remained vulnerable and soft. We still struggle with stubborn pickle jars on our own. We won by fundamentally refusing to ever fight alone. We made sure the fight was never a one-on-one duel in the first place, turning collective noise, fire, and spears into an unbreakable living wall. Cooperation became our impenetrable suit of biological armor. The apex predators weren't overthrown by a fiercer monster. They were quietly out-organized by terrified, brilliant apes. A united line of humans holding fire pushed back the wild. Shared intelligence defeated raw physical ferocity. The scariest thing stalking the tall grass was no longer the lion. It was 30 humans moving together with sharp sticks and blazing fire. A united tribe became the Savannah's most unstoppable force. We claimed the high ground of the prehistoric world. Terrified primates had completely rewritten their biological destiny. Our species survived and conquered simply by standing together. So the next time your heart races at a sudden bump in the night, when a strange sound in a dark house jolts you awake, realize that your internal ancient sentry is just waking up. It's not an embarrassing psychological glitch or irrational flaw. It is millions of years of proven survival programming at work. A built-in alarm system designed to keep you breathing. Your nervous system is functioning with evolutionary perfection. You are feeling the exact fear that kept your ancestors alive. Understanding your ancient wiring brings a quiet sense of peace. You are protected by millennia of battle-tested instinct. You are part of an unbroken chain stretching back millions of years. Thousands of generations passing the spark of life forward. Passed down by every ancestor who heard rustling grass and chose caution. They paid close attention when the wild plains whispered of danger. And because they paid attention, they survived. Today, you stand as the living triumph of all their close calls. You are the ultimate descendant of history's greatest survivors. We made it through the longest, darkest night in evolutionary history. From tiny prey in the tall grass to the masters of our own destiny. And that is the incredible story of how humans survived the wild.